fellow geeks. Welcome to Geeking Out, the podcast about all geeky aspects of software delivery, DevOps, observability, reliability, and everything in between. I'm your host, Adriana Vilela, coming to you from Toronto, Canada. And with me today, I have Rizèl Scarlett. Welcome, Rizèl.
Hi, thank you for having me. It's super fun already, even though the podcast just started.
Yay, I'm so excited to have you on. And where are you calling from today?
I'm calling from Boston, Massachusetts right now.
Awesome. So fellow East Coaster.
Yeah.
As someone who lives in Boston, I gotta ask. So I just came back from a vacation trip to Stowe, Vermont. Have you ever been up that way? Because I have a bunch of family that goes up to Stowe. So I'm wondering if that's like a destination for Bostonians.
Interesting. I never really go to Vermont or Maine, but it's like a place I want to go. Like when I see the pictures, it looks pretty. It's really weird. Like sometimes when you live close to places, you don't go visit them, but you go to the far places.
It is so true because it's like it'll always be there. Whatever.
Yeah.
Taking
it for granted.
It's so true. It's so true. Well, as before we get started with the meaty bits, I always subject my guests to some icebreaker questions. So, are you ready?
I'm ready. Let's go.
Okay. First question: are you a lefty or a righty?
I'm a righty, like all the way.
All right. Awesome. I do want to mention, even though this is coming out sometime in the fall, today is International Lefty Day.
Oh wow! Shout out to all the lefties.
I observe it because I'm a lefty.
I'm glad you get a day. I don't. Y'all
I know.
Get it. I know that. Like
screwed over on various things like scissors. So
yes, I was just saying that scissors are hard for y'all.
I know. I just end up using like right-handed people's scissors left-handed, and it's a little awkward, but it's okay.
Yeah. Oh my god.
All right. Next question. Are you an iPhone or Android person?
I used to be a diehard Android person, and then I don't know, like once I started getting into tech, my job gave me a Mac, and then they gave me AirPods at one job, so I just slowly switched over to all things Apple. So now I have an iPhone.
It's the gateway drug.
Yeah.
Mine was my gateway drug too. Like when I got my first personal Mac, I was like, boom, that's it.
Right? I'm like, wait, iMessage is all synced. Everything's just perfect. I was like, I can't go back to Android now. I'm sorry.
I feel you. I had a BlackBerry before my iPhone, so I never knew Android other than helping my mom when my dad bought her an Android for a very brief period of time. And then I said, screw it, I'm getting you an iPhone. But she'd ask me for tech support in Android. I'm like, Murr.
You're like, what do I do? Yeah, I don't. When my mom asks me for help, I'm like, girl. She's like, but you're a computer person. I don't know.
I don't want to touch it. Okay, next question. Do you prefer Mac, Linux, or Windows?
Ooh. Okay. When I used to be in IT support, and I used to like Windows and Linux. I felt like they were easy to troubleshoot and all that. But then when I went to software engineering, I prefer Mac. I don't know. Just very similar to what I told you about when they gave me a Mac, I got hooked.
Yeah, I feel you. Yeah, I grew up on Windows 3.1. Good old days.
Oh wow. Yeah, I remember using Windows 95.
Oh my god.
Savers.
When that came out, I was like mind blown. I'm like, what is this? As if Windows 3.1 could get better. And it did.
Oh my god.
Yes, that dates me a lot. Okay, next question. Do you have a favorite programming language? And if so, what is it?
Ooh, okay. I love JavaScript. I like SQL, and Kotlin is like my new love now. Like SQL is like the first thing I learned in JavaScript, and like Kotlin, I'm like, yo, why didn't no one tell me about this? It's bomb.
It's funny because I've heard the same thing from various people who get into Kotlin, and they're like, what?
Yeah. It's so good.
It's like a cleaner version of Java, right? Because it runs on the JVM.
Yes, way cleaner. I think I've learned Java in college, and I was like, this thing is overwhelming.
Yeah.
But like Kotlin's like it feels TypeScript. It just doesn't feel. It feels lightweight. It's
Yeah,
like
yeah, yeah.
okay and intuitive. Yeah.
I love it. It makes me want to check out Kotlin. My dad is actually in tech, so I have like big shoes to
Oh,
fill. And he, for years, like he's retired now, but for years he'd just rave about Kotlin. Like he still
wow.
loves it. He's like, it's my favorite language to prototype in. Now he does Rust for fun. So yeah,
Wow.
super hardcore. He's 71 and he does Rust for fun. So there you
That's
go.
so impressive. And that's like cool that you have a dad that was like a software engineer.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's like big shoes to fill though, because it's like, he knows his shit. So
Oh, true.
yeah,
I,
so we
I
have
could easily impress my
conversations, but
parents.
sorry.
No, I was like, I could easily impress my parents, whereas you're like,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, with my dad, it's like he'll catch the bullshit.
Aw.
Oh, but I love it, Kotlin. That's awesome. Okay, do you prefer dev or ops?
Ooh. Whew. I think I prefer dev, I guess. There's nice stuff about ops, but I think I'm just a more formally trained dev. That's why. Yeah.
Yeah, fair enough. Fair enough. Okay, next question: do you prefer JSON or YAML?
I prefer JSON. YAML, I don't know. It's cute, but it gives me a headache. I don't know. Yeah.
That's so funny. For me, it's the opposite. I find like JSON is like too many curly braces. It's like Java trauma. Because I did Java for like 16 years, so I'm like, I don't want to see another curly brace.
I get it. I don't know. Like it'd be like you didn't indent the right way, and I'm like, man, how
That's
many
true.
indents? Yeah.
That's true. It's punishing. It's punishing. It's true. Although, like, I'm getting mad at JSON lately because I'm like playing with dev containers and like I keep forgetting commas after
Oh,
after I'm like, stop yelling at me, JSON.
yeah. No,
I
I
mean,
know
that's the
that
worst of it, at least, but it's still like, stop getting mad at me over a comma.
pain. I know that pain. I get you.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, next question. Do you prefer spaces or tabs?
Hmm. Oh, people. I think I kind of mix them. I know, like people are like diehards. I think I just press whatever I need to press. And I don't really think about it. I just be like type space, type tab. So I don't have a preference here.
Awesome, I love it. Bridging the gap between spaces and tabs. Okay, two more questions left. Do you prefer to learn things through video or text?
Ooh, that's a good question. I think it really depends on the situation. Like if I just wanna get something done really quick, like I'm just like I just need to figure out how to like I don't want to read a book to be honest about coding. But if I see some documentation, copy and paste real quick. I'm like da 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 da. But if I need a deep explainer, like why am I doing this? What's going on? Then I prefer video because I could rewind. I guess you could rewind with a book. I don't know, but I in my brain consumes the information better. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I get that. I get that. It's funny when you mention like you don't want to read a book about tech because it made me think back to like in the early days. That's all you had, right? It was like those big,
Yeah.
thick manuals, like for learning a language. And as soon as you mention, I don't want to read a book, I'm like, holy shit, like PTSD. Like I had this flashback to my childhood of like, because my dad got me started early in coding. So
Yeah.
I'm like, I have like a book on basic open
Wow.
and I'm like trying to go through the exercises and type it out on my computer at the same time, right? Because no online documentation with copy paste.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm with you on that. I don't want to like go through a programming book.
Yeah. Shout out to y'all that learned from the books though. But I
Yeah.
like it's just so much easier to do like Command F and copy and paste. I mean, if the book is online, I'm okay with
Yes. Yes.
that.
I am super down for that as well. I like that. I like that. Yeah, I hadn't even like thought about that until you mentioned it. Okay, final question. What is your superpower?
Ooh, that's a good question. I don't know. Um, oh, I guess that I think I'm resourceful. Like, I think a lot of times people is that a superpower? I don't know.
Yeah,
A lot of times
totally,
people are
totally.
like, yeah, they're like, I don't know how to get the answer or whatever. It doesn't matter if it's tech or not. I think I will find a way to make something work.
That is a great superpower, and I feel like you have to be resourceful in tech,
Yes.
because we're put in so many situations where it's like, yeah, you can't do that
Yeah.
because you're not allowed to because of like whatever work network policy or whatever firewall shit,
Yeah.
or like I don't know, or my problem is like a slightly different variant of the thing in Stack Overflow.
Yes. You can't just straight up copy and paste sometimes.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. So yeah, I think that's such a great superpower. Well, thanks for answering the questions. And now we are ready to get into the meaty bits. So I wanted to start out with I always like to hear how folks on the show have started their career. So what got you into tech initially?
Yeah, so initially I was studying psychology, like out of college, because I didn't really know what I want to study. And then I found out I don't have enough money. And on top of that, I was undocumented. So that made stuff a little bit more complicated. Like I can't get like um certain grants and like bigger scholarships that people were getting. So I was doing a lot of out of pocket. So then I had to stop going to college, and then that made me reevaluate and be like, okay, I can't, it doesn't really make sense to study psychology because I got to go get my master's to actually start making some kind of money or get a job. So then I was like Googling what jobs make the most money really fast. And then like tech came up. Okay, like so in the beginning it was like a financial thing, but
Yeah,
after
yeah.
a while, like computer science came up, but I got a little nervous by the math because I've never been like super strong in math. So I was like, I'll just do information systems major at a community college. So I did that. I got an internship, I got a job, and then that allowed me to like pay for college at the same time as having a job. But then IT support, that was fun, but I just felt like I was really good at it, so it got boring easily for me. I don't know,
Right.
like I was like, it's fun, but I'm like, I need more of a challenge. So I was like,
Yeah.
okay, I'm ready to try out computer science. But I still didn't have enough money to go for like a whole bachelor's. So I went to a free coding boot camp called Rizèl Coders, learned to code from there. And then once I got my software engineering job, then I got a bachelor's in computer science, did that while I had my software engineering job. And then I transitioned into DevRel. Yeah.
Wow, that's so awesome. So it's like this accidental discovery of like, oh, I actually like this.
Yeah. Yeah. I was like, this is actually fun. Like, I like the challenge and I like the community. It's so cool.
Yeah, the community has been awesome. And especially I would say in open source.
Yeah. I agree.
So you mentioned you got into DevRel, and what got you onto the DevRel path?
Yeah. So I was doing software engineering and I like coding, but I'm not a huge fan of software engineering. I don't know. So like, like the whole like agile and everything and to like I don't know. That's it's just not necessarily how I work or like what really excites me. So on the side of doing software engineering and on the side of completing my computer science degree, I also was helping to run I also helped to start a nonprofit that was teaching women of color how to code. And I was like, I really enjoy like making these presentation decks and just like explaining to them little parts of code that like I don't know, they were asking interesting questions. They were like,
Yeah.
why do the hyperlinks turn blue? And I'm like, I don't know, I never thought of that. Let me go like dig into it. So I really like that part of like still getting to code, but explain things to people. So I was like Googling, how do I get to do that for the same amount of money as like software engineering? Because that nonprofit job was not paying.
Yeah.
So I kept finding people like Angie Jones and Brian Douglas, and I was like, what is their jobs? And it's a developer advocate. So that's how I just applied. And at first people told me you don't have experience, but then GitHub gave me a chance.
That's such a great story. And I love also that, as you mentioned, like GitHub gave you a chance. And I feel like so many times in tech careers, it's all about someone just taking a chance on you, that they
Yeah.
see something beyond the experience, right? Like, because I think that's the thing that's a little bit frustrating. I think a lot of people get very hung up on, like, do you know this exact technology? It's like,
Yeah.
no, but I can learn.
Right. It's not that, I mean, it could be hard, but I have the ability.
Exactly, exactly. And what is modern tech if not the ability to just pick up a bunch of stuff that you never knew on
Yeah.
the fly? Because,
Yeah.
otherwise you get left out.
Yeah, that's how it works. You're never gonna know everything. Yeah. So I was
Exactly.
really grateful when GitHub gave me the chance. I didn't even think GitHub, like I'm like, that's a big company. But I was like, oh, thanks guys. And I think I did really well. So
Yeah, absolutely. That's so amazing. How like, before, when you mentioned like working and studying at the same time and running uh this program for women of color coding, like how did you manage doing that, like, without, just like losing your mind? Like, that's a lot of stuff to juggle.
I don't okay, I think I was super stressed out. So I'm not gonna lie to anybody and say like I was just breezing through it. There was times that like I was either doing bad at my job or I was doing bad at school to and then doing good at school, but like it would like fluctuate. I
Yeah, yeah.
never reduced the amount that I was giving to the nonprofit maybe until the last year. Like I did the nonprofit for like 4 or 5 years, and when I
Wow.
joined GitHub, I was like this is too much. Like I'm traveling and doing this, and like you could tell the quality of work was kind of lowering. So I did there was crying nights and everything cuz I'm like my homework's not working or my work is not working. So it was not it was not smooth sailing, but I think I was used to always having multiple jobs or multiple school and jobs. So like it didn't feel like anything to me, but now I'm like I just want one job and that's it.
Yeah, that is super fair. And thanks for also like being so candid too about, like, these things are hard to juggle, and I do often find like something does have to give because there's like only so many hours in the day. Brain power, sleep.
Definitely. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. And I think as we get more into our careers, because it's so easy, like when you get early into a career, even if it's like it's you've been around for a while, but like you've taken on a new career, you don't want to say no because it's
Yeah.
like, but what if this is a great opportunity?
Yeah.
Right?
I tend to have that problem. I'm trying to reduce it, but that's been like a thing for me where I'm like, but I really need the opportunity. Because
It's more
yeah.
exposure.
But
Yes, I
now, sorry, go ahead.
I don't know. I was gonna say I totally agree, but saying no also like feels so icky sometimes. I don't know if you feel that way, but I feel so guilty when I have it. I'm like, I'm letting someone down.
Yeah, I feel bad sometimes because it's just tough. I think even at at GitHub, I really loved working there and I did really well there, but sometimes some people like I think I was one of the more visible people on my team and I was like relatable. So sometimes people outside of my team would be like, hey, we need you to work on this. And I'm like, what about my coworker? And they're like, no, no, you're the only one that can do it. And then people are like, you just gotta say no. I'm like, but I already said no and they pushed back. I'm just gonna say yes now. I'm nervous or
Oh
I
my
feel
god.
bad.
But it's so flattering at the same time, right?
Yeah.
Because I think a lot of our job, especially as DevRels, is that relatability, and
Yeah.
that's why people will consume our content because they look at the stuff that we produce and it's good, but also like we're approachable, relatable. It's like, oh, I want to talk to you,
Yeah.
so then you don't want to say no.
It was, like, flattering and overwhelming at the same time.
I know, right? Yeah, yeah, I feel you. And as a DevRel, have you also like what's kind of your favorite thing to DevRel on? Is it like blog post creation, talks, video content? Like what's your jam?
Ooh, that's a good question. I think blog posts are my thing. Like I love doing blog posts. But I kind of recently, as I've gone to this new job, maybe I've done less of them. I also like live streams because like live stream coding or live stream talking to other people within um this particular whatever industry I'm in, because I
Yeah.
think it allows me to learn more about that industry while also like creating a connection for my company. Um I like talks too. I like a lot of it. The only thing I probably don't like as much is I'm probably not the best at like pre-recorded video content creation.
Oh
That's
yeah.
not my
Kind of
position.
stressful. Like you would
Yeah.
think it'd be easy because it's like I have a script. I just need to like talk in the video, and it's like no. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's worse than doing like a live talk or a live stream.
yeah. Because of the live stream, you're gonna make a mistake. You can't
Yeah.
rewind. It is what it is. But pre-recording, I'm like, no, I gotta do that over, and then it's like 10 hours later.
Oh, yeah, yeah. I can totally relate. Like I created video content last year, and sometimes it would take like I think for a 5-minute thing, it would take over an hour, and there were so many outtakes of me going, "Fuck." I'm sure if I hadn't deleted all those outtakes, there were like I would have a computer full of fucks.
That would be a cool blooper reel.
Oh my god, it would be.
Oh my god.
I want to ask you like about public speaking. Like, what was sort of like your first public speaking experience? Was it like in a tech setting or was it a non-tech setting? Like, what launched you into doing talks?
Yeah, Devrel did because actually my intention was like I don't know. I didn't know that this was probably over ambitious, but I was like, I don't want or not ambitious, or maybe under ambitious. Like I thought I could get away with it. I was like, I don't want to do any public speaking. I was like, I'll just sit behind the scenes. And my manager's like, yeah, I don't know if that's gonna work, Rizal. So I think at first I started off like doing virtual talks. And I think that was helpful because it was pretty similar to when I did a nonprofit. I would like do talks to like it was kind of like talks to beginners. So I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
this feels familiar. And then after that, the first like in public and other people seeing me was at Kansas City Developer Conference.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, it was a nice audience. They were like welcoming, so that was good. But because before that, my public speaking skills were not good. I was like, I just kept having a shaky voice every time I did any kind of public speaking. It could be like a small crowd, and they'd be like, Rizal, present your demo. And it'd be like, hello.
It can be so nerve-wracking going in front of an audience because, like, I don't know if you get this, but like when I go to speak, I'm like, shit, they're looking at me.
Yeah.
They expect me to say intelligent things.
Yeah, it's a lot of pressure.
Yeah, the self-conscious thing comes up and you're like, oh my God, oh my God. I'm usually like, I'm dying right before a talk. And then once I get in the groove, I like calm down and then the world melts,
Yeah.
thankfully. But but I'm a
Yeah.
wreck beforehand.
Same. I think, yeah, now for some reason, I don't know what switched, but now I just black out everybody. Like I don't even realize they're there anymore. Cause once I realize that people are there, or like, and I like make eye contact, that's when the nerves come back. But
Oh
if I
yeah,
black
yeah,
out everybody, I'm like, I'm just talking, and it is what it
yeah.
is.
Yeah, yeah. I think I do something similar because a lot of like advice around public speaking is, oh, focus in on one person in the audience and connect with them. And I'm like, I don't know if I want to make eye contact with people like that.
I don't. I probably look like I am, but I'm like, I didn't see you for real.
Yeah, I'm more of a I will scan back and forth as I talk kind of thing.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so cool. Yeah, it definitely takes practice to get used to it. And I think to also like just kind of go with the flow when you realize that, you've like messed something up. I had a
Yeah.
talk where I had a co-speaker recently, and she started like saying my lines. At one point I'm like, no, no,
Oh
no, we gotta remind
no.
him. And it's like, like we're not gonna get hung up on that. It is what it is. It's like back up, restart, and the show must go on.
Yeah, you just gotta go with it. Yeah, I make lots of mistakes, so I just have to erase them from my mind. I'm like, it's whatever happened. Like one time, I showed my speaker notes, and then I
Oh
just like
no.
joked about it. I was like, oh no, y'all can see my speaker notes, and I just moved on.
Yeah,
Or
yeah.
like, I'm like, it is what it is.
For real, that is actually one of my public speaking nightmares is for people to see my speaker notes.
It
It's like a
was so
window into my
scary.
soul.
I was like, how long, in my head, I was like, how long have they been looking at the notes? Like, I don't know.
I had an online talk once where I had forgotten to start sharing the slides. But fortunately
Oh.
it was caught early enough.
Oh, yeah, they're like, "We can't."
So, but I was like so embarrassed. I'm like, I can't think about this. I just need to like carry on and pretend that this didn't happen. But that's another nightmare of mine.
Yeah. No, and when I did, the GitHub Universe keynote, I messed up, but everybody was like, "We didn't even notice." Like, I was, like, kicking myself about it. Like, I was like, "Oh my god," because basically, there was, like, a recording of like I was demoing GitHub, what was it called? It was like Copilot Voice. They changed the name of it, but basically it's like you use your voice and then Copilot writes stuff for you. And
Ooh.
like yeah, but it was really hard to do live. So we
Yeah.
were like we're going to pre-record it and like kind of pretend you're doing it live because I did
Okay.
record it with my voice, but sometimes like your accent or whatever, it just wouldn't always go smoothly and we have like a set amount of time. So
Yeah.
like in the background GitHub Copilot's like typing all the stuff that I'm saying. And then I think I went either ahead of it or behind it. And like it typed it out way after I said something. And then I was like, oh no. Like I said it under my breath. And when I was done, I was like, oh my God, like everybody knew it. And everybody's like, we did not hear you say, oh no. Like we didn't even notice you made a mistake. I'm like, oh, okay.
And that's like such an important thing to call out though, because I think like we tend to be so hard on ourselves when we
Yeah.
give talks. And I think like if people are interested in the content that we're producing, like the things that we're talking about, they're not going to be scrutinizing every single little thing that you've done, right? Because all they
Yeah.
care about is like, have I learned something? Am I having fun in this talk? And I think if you can deliver that, no one's gonna like harp on this stuff. But like we as perfectionists, lovers of our craft, we're like, oh my god, they
Yeah.
hate
Yeah.
me.
Like, I want it to be perfect, but it's never perfect.
Never, never, especially with live demos. This is why, as a rule of thumb, I don't do live demos. I pre-record my demos. I'm honestly like terrified of doing live demos and live coding. So hats off to you for doing like live coding, because I'm the kind of gal who likes to code in the comfort of my own like my personal little nook, and that is it. I hate it when people watch over me as I'm coding.
Yeah. No, I'm not a fan of it either, but I think it's helping me to grow. And, like, I don't know, I've become a better live coder on stage, so that's been good for me. But I agree with you, it's way comfortable to just be in your bed or just like in your own office and just typing with no one looking.
Exactly. No one can see like the angry like print statements that you put in. That's when I start to angry code. It's like, why isn't this working? Why aren't you hitting the for loop?
Oh my god.
So I wanted to switch gears a little bit and talk about. So you mentioned that you were at GitHub, but you've got a new gig. Why don't you tell folks about your current gig?
Yeah, actually, I almost worked here for a year now. It's about like 11 months. Yeah, at a company called TBD. That is the real name, but it's a it's a company or a business unit within Block. So Block has a couple of business units like Square, Cash App, TBD, Title, like a couple different things. And so just like background, like the idea behind all of this is like Block really cares, or this is their mission, is like financial empowerment. So with Square, they enabled like mom and pop shops to be able to like accept payments through like, you can just, in the beginning it was like you just put this little card reader on a phone and you could swipe it and stuff like that. And then with Cash App, I know you're in Canada, but like within America, it's like, oh cool, I could send money to my friends with the click of a button. And so with TBD, we're doing a couple of things. One of the things is we're creating an SDK that allows financial institutions to basically make it easier for you to send money internationally and like change the
Ooh,
currency and stuff like that. Yeah, because like
convenient.
you probably know like it's annoying if you're going to get money
So
from
annoying.
US or something. So they want to make it a smoother experience. So we're not necessarily um building the tool that makes it a smoother experience, but we're building like the SDK so that financial institutions and other businesses can take that and then they can
Yeah.
build off of that. And then in addition to that, we also have this thing called Web 5, which I know oftentimes people are like, what happened to Web 4 and stuff like that. I'm like, yeah, I get it.
You must
But
get that a lot.
yeah. I'm like, I'm already ready. But basically it's a tongue in cheek kind of name. But the whole idea is they're trying to make it easier for you to own your data and your identity without the use of blockchain. So like they're basically like, we like the idea that like Web3 had of like decentralizing things and helping you to own things, but there's like a barrier within blockchain. Like I like some stuff of it, but we want to make it a little bit of a lower barrier to entry. And a lot of the stuff we're using like are open standards from the W3C, and they're not like before I came into TBD I was like, what are they really doing? But it's not like they made up anything. Like one of the open standards is called verifiable credentials, and that's actually what mobile driver's license use underneath the hood. Like that's the
Oh,
technology where
cool.
it's the standard. Yeah, so it just allows you to be able to like have your digital identity on your phone and be able to control who can um, get access to certain parts of your data. Like, let's say you wanted to prove that you're of legal drinking age. Usually, you will show your physical ID, it has your
Yeah.
address and everything. You don't really need to show that. They just need to know you're over that age. So you can
Yeah.
show your phone, have it be scanned, and it'll just be like, yep, this person's over 21 or 18 or whatever. And then you get your alcohol. So that's kind of like how the technology works.
So it basically it's like we're just showing the necessary information.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, it's called selective disclosure. So you can choose to disclose only the things you want. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's so important nowadays because like I feel like we basically become open books in terms of
Yeah.
personal data, right? Because it's like you want this, you got to sign up for that. Like I can't go into a store, like I'll go into like a retail store and they're like, can I start off with your phone number? I'm like, how about
Right.
no? Like,
Right.
what do you need it
Or
for?
just buy the thing.
Yeah, or like you return something and they want like your entire life's history. It's like I'm returning like a $5 thing. Why do you need like all this stuff about me?
Exactly. And that even reminds me, I think earlier you before the stream start or the podcast started, you were asking me like, oh, do I want to talk about like pregnancy and tech? But that reminded me about something else. So I
Mhm.
actually used Web5, like, and I want to build more on this idea. But like in a company hackathon, I was like, it would be so cool if you can like own your like menstrual cycle data, your period data. Well, that's the same thing. Your pregnancy data, all that, any fertility or anything that's going on with like your own personal health, because I feel like as soon as I like Googled any questions about it or I downloaded an like a pregnancy app, then like TikTok and all my Facebook reels were like, what it's like to be a mom. And I'm like,
Oh
dang, how
my
do I already
god.
know?
It's like, stop stalking me.
Yeah. So I'm like, it would be so cool to still be able to track the stuff digitally, but like be able to own that data and then have the ability to share it with who you want to share it with.
Yeah, yeah.
They're slightly two different concepts, but very similar. So like
Okay.
the verifiable credentials, and then what I used was something called the decentralized web node, but the details don't matter too much. But anyways, it would be like you can just decide, maybe I want like my partner to see this particular information or my doctor to see just this one part like of the information, and
Yeah,
then
yeah.
I hold on to the rest for myself. So like yeah, it would be like that.
Oh, yeah, that is so useful. And
Yeah.
so that's something that you said that you were building as, like, part of an you did it as part of an internal hackathon?
Yeah, it's
Oh,
like very like bare bones.
yeah, yeah.
But I really want to like continue to build upon that. So there's more to it. Right now, it's just like you just add your cycle data and then you have control over it and then you could send it to someone. But I want to add more. Yeah.
Yeah. That's so great. Wow. Yeah, that's such a useful application. It's funny because, back when, back in my day, yeah, there was like none of this like tracking cycles through an app. So like when that
Yeah.
stuff came out, it's like, what? You can track it through an app, but then it's like the can of worms that opens up, right? It's like, oh, you got a cycle tracker, and what does that actually mean? Where's my data going, right? Um,
Exactly.
yeah, so because like why does it need to go anywhere but within the confines of like you?
Exactly. And I get that's how like they make money. So they like do marketing that way and then they sell your data that way. But it's like
Yeah,
I don't even know who you gave it
yeah,
to.
exactly, it's kind of creepy. Like, no thanks.
Exactly.
On a similar vein, can you talk a little bit about like as we talked before the show, like you mentioned that you're pregnant. How far along are you at this point? How's it been? How are you finding like being a pregnant woman in tech? Is
Yeah.
there like, do you think that there is a difference being a pregnant woman in tech versus not in tech?
Yeah, that's a good question. Yeah, I'm about 24 weeks right now, and I would say, hmm, I think it's probably easier. Well, my experience, right? If I was going in person a lot, that would be much more exhausting if I was going to work in person, but I have the ability to like work from home. So that's been good. And like I know that tech has a lot more flexibility in terms of like hours and stuff like that. Like some jobs, not all of them, but like no one's like, "Oh, your bubble went gray for a second."
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So that part has been beneficial. I think some parts of DevRel I might have been over ambitious with. So like I didn't know I was going to be pregnant. So I had all these talks lined up and I went to them and I was like, oh my God, like I did not know that first trimester is so exhausting.
Oh
Like
my
I would tell
god.
people who are never been pregnant and they're like, are you eating your vitamins? I'm like, yeah, I am.
Oh man.
Everybody said that. My physical trainer, everybody. I'm like, yeah, I don't think the vitamins are gonna make me less sleepy.
Yes, you're dead ass tired in a way that you never thought was possible.
Yeah. I'm like, dang, usually I'm a person, it's actually a little bit of a hard hit for me because I'm usually a person that like I'm I don't know, I just get excited sometimes about work and I want to do like extra work. I've
Yeah.
never been in a spot where I'm like, I do not want to do extra work. In fact, I'm logging off early. Like, like it would be like 3 o'clock, and I'm like, just gonna close my laptop before because I would be like, I can't even read what people are saying on Slack. Like, I get sleepy every day at like 2:30, 3 p.m. So that was a hard hit for me because I was like, oh my God, maybe I was like, is all the pregnancy gonna be like this? Like, I was like, maybe I can't even work anymore.
I definitely felt that in my first trimester. I legitimately thought I'm like, I'm just gonna like peace out for the next few months.
I was like Googling, why is it maternity leave longer? How to get longer? Wait, Canada has like 18 months or something though,
Yeah,
right?
you can do up to 18 months now. So when I was pregnant, it was 12 months. So you get 12 months where so the way it works is like you're entitled to 12 months, or 12 to 18 months now.
Yeah,
Which means that you do have your job guaranteed after that period, like when you return.
yeah.
It's up to your company as to how much they pay you during that time. So like when I was
Wow.
pregnant with my daughter, it was I think my company paid like I want to say 6 weeks at like 90 or 95% pay. And then after that, you go on unemployment, which is like piddly poo.
Yeah.
But you are technically guaranteed your job when you return. And I'm saying that in air quotes because there has been some shady ass shit that's happened where I've actually had a few friends who returned from mat leave and then it's like, hey, welcome back to your job next day. Oh, by the way, you're fired.
Oh,
Or it's
yeah,
like, oh, we're restructuring. And so there have been some interesting, like, obviously companies are not allowed to do that, but some do.
yeah,
Some have taken like have taken their companies to court over stuff like that. But yeah, we do have that entitlement. I took advantage of that for sure. It was hard. Mat
yeah.
leave was hard because like I'm a very like I can't sit still. I'm
Mm,
an ADHDer. I cannot sit still. And this idea of like sitting home with my baby who is like, the first 3 months is so boring because they're just like sleeping,
yeah.
crying and pooping. And I'm like, nothing exciting is happening. And I'm like, this is so boring and I need to be out doing something. But then they get more interesting after 3 months and it's fun. And honestly, like, I'm so grateful that I had that opportunity because getting to see her grow like over that year was
Yeah.
so unique. But it is so hard also, like, if you're used to being active and out and about and, like, my sense of, like, I need to feel like I'm productive all the
Yes.
time.
Yeah.
So, even, like, you talking about the first trimester fatigue, like, I used to not believe in naps until I got pregnant,
Me
and then
too.
and then it's like, "Give me a nap."
Yeah. My husband
Right?
takes so many naps throughout the day. He's a software engineer. And I'm like, why are you taking naps? Just get your work done. Like, come on.
Right?
But then I just all of a sudden I'm like, I need to take my daily nap.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, my husband was so excited when I started getting into naps because he loves naps. I'm like, naps are for old people. I'm like, give me a nap. And we napped together while I was pregnant, and he was
Aw.
like, "Oh, this is the best. We need more of that." And then second trimester for me, I was lucky that I got like my energy back. And then
Yeah.
third trimester, it like it crashed
Yeah.
again.
I'm preparing. I'm prepared because I mean, part of second trimester, I was like, yo, we're lying. I'm still tired. But I'm like, I'm in an energetic area, so I'm trying to get as much work done as possible. And then once it's third trimester, I know I'll probably go down. Because what you were mentioning of people still getting laid off and stuff like that, I don't think my company or my manager would do this to me. But I have read a book about kind of what you said, like how companies they use like maternity leave or medical leave in a sly way to eventually fire the person. And I'm like, I
Yeah.
don't want that. I want that. Like, you're like, even though Rizèl was gone for 12 weeks, like she did that. She was accomplishing stuff before she left. We need her
Yeah.
back.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, and I think, I think it's a combination of like working for a good company, having a good manager who has your back,
Yeah.
makes a huge difference. One thing that was challenging for me when I was pregnant, because like, so I'm originally from Brazil, and so for my parents, like this like mat leave thing, it's different there. And my mom was a stay at home mom as well, so
Oh.
and for her, it's like very important that my sister and I both had jobs. She's like, you need to be independent, make your own money, la la la. So when I
Mm.
was on mat leave, my parents were like, "You're taking the full 12 months?" I'm like, "Yeah." They're like, "Out of sight, out of mind. They'll forget about you." I'm like, "No, they won't." They were really on my ass about like, taking
That's so
6
much
months off or
pressure.
whatever. And I
Oh
was
my
like
god.
considering it for a while. I'm like, "Oh my god, what if they're right?" And then 6 months, hits, into my mat leave. I'm like, "I can't do that. Like that,
Yeah.
no." I need to be
Yeah. Take all the time you need with your kid, 'cause if
Yeah.
they're giving that benefit, I'm like, some people, they don't get a chance to see, like, even be at home. Like, I don't know how my friends who are, like, in retail and stuff like that, like, they worked until they gave birth, and then they barely had a mat leave. I'm like, "Wow, that is impressive and also a little bit sad."
Yeah,
You
yeah, it's
know?
like you have to make do, but it's like it's so stressful and like your hormones are raging after you give birth, like if you think your hormones are raging now.
Yeah. Oh, no.
Sorry.
Well, I guess I don't need to worry about it. My husband does. So
That's true, that's true. Yeah, it's the recipients who have the hardest time, but it's nice that, like, you get to work from home,
yeah.
and it sounds like your husband is working from home as well?
Yeah.
What is
He goes into the office 2 times a week, so that's
Oh,
really not
nice.
bad. Yeah,
So that's
so
yeah.
we're in a good spot.
That is a really good setup, and yeah,
Yeah.
and that's definitely like a huge advantage to working in tech and starting a family is that if you're able to work from home, then you have that ability to be with your kid, and especially if your spouse is home, then you get to like tag
Mhm.
team. So not one person is dying all the time.
Yeah, I cannot complain. If I the only thing, if I had to do it over, I would realize how tired that you could really get, and I would have planned it out better.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
besides that, I think I'm in maybe a better position than maybe some other working women who are pregnant. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, fair enough, fair enough. Oh, this is such an exciting time.
Yeah.
Do you know if you're having a boy or a girl, or are you gonna just wait to find out?
Oh, I know. We have 0 patience. As soon as we did the test results were available, we're like, "What is it? Tell us the gender." It's
I was
gonna be
the
a
same way.
yeah.
Oh, yeah,
Everyone's like, "Do a gender reveal. It's gonna be so fun." I'm like, "No, I don't care about that." Yeah.
Oh, so what are you having?
Oh, it's a girl.
Oh,
Yeah.
yay! So
Yeah.
much fun. I'm a little biased because I have a girl and she's lots of fun.
Aw. I'm
My
excited.
my mini. She edits the videos for this podcast, actually.
Oh, she does? Oh, wow,
Yeah,
look at her. Wow,
but she
skills.
rejects tech, so she
Oh,
wants to be a dentist.
okay, at least that's a good job still.
Oh, yeah, totally, no complaints.
Yeah.
She knows what she wants to do, so I'm like, "You good, you good." Oh, that's so exciting, though. Oh, congrats. It's gonna be a wild ride, but I promise it'll be fun.
Thank you. I hope so. Thanks so much.
Cool. Well, we are coming up on time, but as we before we wrap up, I wanted to see if you have any like parting words of wisdom or hot takes or just anything that you wanted to share with folks,
Ooh.
advice.
Hmm. I guess I will say a lot of times people ask me like, "Oh, how do you like level up when you're a junior and stuff like that?" And this is probably not an answer people really like, but I think it eventually comes with time and patience and just putting in work. I think I always was like, I really want to like level up. And like I don't know how to do the things I'm doing, but I'm like just continue to stay involved. There's not really, to me, there's not really a fast track. like as long as you continue to stay involved with your team and keep building and keep trying to learn, you'll naturally go on that like learning path or that growth path.
That's great. I really love that. And it is so absolutely true. I mean, you gotta put in the work, you gotta put in the face time, and you'll
Yeah.
see the rewards. That's
Yeah.
amazing. Well, thank you so much, Rizèl, for geeking out with me today. Y'all don't forget to subscribe and be sure to check the show notes for additional resources and to connect with us and our guests on social media. Until next time.
Peace out and geek out.
Geeking Out is hosted and produced by me, Adriana Vilela. I also compose and perform the theme music on my trusty clarinet. Geeking Out is also produced by my daughter, Hannah Maxwell, who incidentally designed all of the cool graphics. Be sure to follow us on all the socials by going to bento.me/geekingout.